Hello everybody, we're going to be working on an ornamental pine embossed card. It was inspired by Dawn's Stamping Thoughts on YouTube, and she had gotten it from one of her swap people. Um, I'm showing you here on the screen where I found the video. I decided to do this for a swap that I'm having with a group of ladies, and so I have to make 7 cards. So right here I'm showing you how I'm cutting each of those cards, and I'm taking an 8.5 by 11 sheet and cutting it right down the middle at 4 1/4. And on one sheet you'll get 2 cards. Now here what we're doing is scoring the paper. We're lining it up on 5.5 and then scoring so that it'll be a top folding card. And it's very easy to do mass producing on cards, as long as you take each step one at a time, making sure that you complete that step that you're doing. So that's what I'm completing right here, is just doing the 5.5 score line. Now I've skipped this part, but what I did was I cut the accent card, and it's 4 by 5 1/4. And right now I'm using the Misty tool, which I love. The Misty tool makes it very easy to do multiple stamps and making sure that you get them all in the same spot. It's very handy and it's a very great tool. And right now I'm just lighting up where the stamp is going to go, and then once you get the spot you just press down and it's exactly where it needs to be. Now I'm inking up with the My Favorite Things olive hybrid ink. This ink is great. You can use it for stamping, for markers. It covers every style of stamping that you can think of, as far as like different mediums that you want to use with it. It's the hybrid ink. So right now you see I'm just stamping up and stamping each page one at a time. Now with the Misty tool, it does come, or you have to buy extra, the magnet, and that magnet is very, very strong. So what I'm doing here, you can see I'm no longer using the magnet because it's hard to get it off of the bottom. So what I did is I'm using the grid lines, and I'm making sure that each page is lined up in the exact same spot, and it allows me to press down and get it in the same spot each time. And now we're stamping on the sentiment, which is Christmas wishes, and this is from the Ornamental Pine stamp set through Stampin' Up. And we're just doing the same thing, making sure it's in the same spot, stamping, putting the ink on the stamp, and then pressing down. Now we're taking the Early Espresso, which is also an ink from Stampin' Up, and we're stamping on the pine cones, and we're doing them in sets of 3. I'm doing them as a cluster right here on the branch, but really you're free to do whatever works for you. You can put one falling from the branch, however you like it to look. That's one of the great things about YouTube. Everyone gives you inspiration, and then you make it happen the way it's going to work best for you. Alright, now I'm cleaning off my stamp, and I'm just using a baby wipe, and I have some stamp cleaner that I got from one of our local stores, from Michael's, and it's through Ranger. And I just make sure to clean it off when I'm done. Now we're taking the olive from the hybrid ink, and we're stamping just along the edges some of the pine from the actual branch, and we're just doing that on the 2 sides, one in the top corner, one in the bottom. And then I decided to go back and actually put some where the branch is coming from the corner edge, and it just ties it off. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just making sure I stamp in those 3 spots. As you can see, it's very easy when you're mass producing. You just make sure you do all the same steps with all the pieces that you're working on, so that way they're all, done at the same time. Once again, I just spray the baby wipe and clean off the stamp. Now this is the the gel roll pen. It's an 08, and all I'm doing is taking it and putting a little bit of snow on the pine cones, just so it has a little bit of a pop. Okay. Now, right in here, my camera decided to go a little wonky on me, but what I did was I took the Versamark ink pad and I stamped along the entire front of our focal piece. And then I took the pearlescent powder and I just sprinkled it all over the front, so that way with my heating tool I can emboss the entire front of it. And what it does is it gives it this beautiful sparkle. Okay, the embossing ink is through Inka Dinka Doo, and I want to say I got that at AC Moore. Okay, now there was one step that I did forget, which was to use the blending tool and put I'm using right here Vintage Photo around the edges of the card. I figured I could show you both ways, because the first card with the embossing on it I did without having the the edges darkened, and then so you could see it one way with and one way without, and you can still see the great effects because the pearlescent just gives it such a great sparkle that it actually becomes the focal point no matter which way you do it. So right now the heating gun is hot, and I'm just making sure that I heat all over the front, not staying too long on one spot, but just trying to make sure that all the embossing powder is melted. And then I heat from the back to try and minimize the warping. Okay, so this is showing you the two versions. You can see the edging on this one, and then that one is without, which is still good. Alright, now then what I did was I flipped them over, and I'm taking the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, and I'm filling them up on the back, and you might think I'm putting, too many, but really I'm doing it so that the warping doesn't make the card look weird. That's the only reason why. If you have the mounting foam tape, you could have used that. That would keep it flat. I've seen a lot of ladies are using the thin foam